First of all, congratulations to the speaker who preceded me. They make my life a little bit difficult now, but let's see what I can do for interesting you in my research. So I'm Giacomo Mei. I'm working for different university. I'm a lecturer at Polytechnic University of Marke and consultant for the University of Zagreb. And I am a collaborator for botanical garden of Pesaro. My research focusing mainly in dynamics that the management of the management of the forest. So, which is the dynamics? We need many the forest. The forest do not need man. All of us know this word, but in terms of survive, okay, for sure. In the Mediterranean area, we manage the forest for more or less 10,000 years. So we have done all the damage? I don't think so, because if you think the Mediterranean area are a hotspot of the world, at the level of the world, we are in a hotspot of biodiversity. So let's see the case of the Ostracarpinifolia forest. This is the key species of this kind of forest, and this is their distribution. As you can see, it's a typical of the Mediterranean area and is very, very concentrated in the middle of the Italian peninsula. Why it's so interesting? Because it's characterized more or less 70% of the Apennine landscape, and the Italian landscape is protected by the Article 9 of the Constitution and is well known in all the part of the world. This is some general data of this kind this kind of forest. So we have a lot of species. Inside a single plot, we have a very high number of difficult and sometimes protected species. And just for have an idea, we have an average number of species of 42. Meanwhile, in the other forest, we have more or less 20 species. The past management is everywhere copies with standards. Now is copied with standard, but sometimes in a big part of this area, we assist to an abandonment of this area for increased biodiversity. But we are sure that it is really a good thing to change in this way the management. Look just a second of to the soil, to the topsoil. We have everywhere an amphi and a mollisol class. Just for an idea, mollisol is very, very, very interesting kind of soil that need of much more than 50,000 of years for create this kind of soil in a higher surface. And for its destruction, some paper say that we need more or less 50 years. So if we have so much molluscs, maybe this kind of management is not so critically for the forest. What we have done, basically, we have studied different stage of the forest evolution during the forest cutting process, and one of the most difficult part is find two areas that are managed in this exactly way for all this time. We need of an area very, very, very well known under the management point of view, and with a very, very similar situation under the point of view of altitude, exposure, slope, backrock, and so on. So what's happened? The results are very, very interesting because they have something of unexpected. What I mean, this is the vegetation, topsoil, seal bank. Just for the happiness of Christina, this is the mesofauna composition. We studied the quality quantification of the mesofauna. What we see, you can see everywhere that in the first period after the cut, more or less in the first 5-6 years, we have a very deep change in vegetation, topsoil, seed bank composition, and mesofauna, more or less. The interesting thing is that with the at the end, at the central part of the end period of the forest rotation, where we have a very, very, very well shaped vegetation, topsoil situation, and seed bank. Mesofauna are the same, remain more or less the same. It's changed a little bit, but it's very stable. Incredible that in the last part, so after the abandonment or the active conversion, we have a totally change in terms of vegetation, topsoil, seed bank, and mesofauna composition. And I don't take here some data because it's I try to write now a paper, so I don't want to fire the new paper. But as you can see, the mesofauna change really in totally way. So what is the problem? For example, under the point of view of the topsoil structure, as you can see, change very, very, very much all the structure, but not only, also the ecological value. Here in the first year, as you can imagine, we have a very low presence of different horizon, because the impact is very hard. A lot of management, horse come inside, people cutting, and so on. And why I said horse, because in this area it's very difficult to come inside with a truck. So sometimes it's done by donkey. They take off the wood. In the middle part of the management, so around from the 10 to the 50, we have from the 15 years after the cut, we have the best composition of the topsoil. Very, very complicated, a lot of different horizon, well structured, and a lot of insects. At the end of the traditional rotation, we have something of strange. Is started to homogenize all the situation. The homogenization, increase incredible after the abandonment or the active conversion. Why? Because all the situation become more or less the same. So we have an increase in number of some insects, but the loss of a lot of other family of insects. It means in an improvement of the soil is deep, but for sure a loss of biodiversity. So, sorry, okay. Other interesting things is the study of the seed bank. It is really linked with the soil, because the soil depends to the plants, but plants to the soil, and so is a really good circle. And here we can see that in the first part we have an explosion of the presence of the seeds. It's normal. We cut the wood, so the plant seedling, the seed come inside, and that's all. But after 20 years, we have still a good number of alive seeds. After this part, after the abandonment, all the seeds are more or less died. So we have a totally change in soil seed bank. Is means a trigger of negative feedback at the end of the traditional forest rotation, and a really negative feedback with the conversion in high forest. What I mean that for which regard the Mediterranean basin, this is a real millenary coevolution between man and nature. Man literally shape the landscape and sometimes the soil structure and biodiversity. Returning to nature absolutely without knowledge or compromising with to all the landscape that's around us, it means sometimes lose a big biodiversity, lose something that we know very well and it's very rich in terms of biodiversity, but absolutely find something that we absolutely don't know. So sometimes, as I said at the beginning, the search of the maintenance of the biodiversity is really paved of good intention. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Giacomo. Your work is really it can be connected to Lindsay also research, and you find the same shape. Human come in the system and walk this system, make a sort of mixing of habitats, and the animal, till there are animals, try to occupy all this habitat, and it looks like the biodiversity is increasing in this period. And then, sure, if you let the system go on and become natural, you can lose part of this biodiversity because the system rise a sort of equilibrium, an homogenization of the space, occupied by the species that are well adapted to this habitat. Yeah, I think you can have a discussion with Lindsay. I don't want to I just wanted to give some indication, and
it's a pleasure for me, for sure.
At the end of the meeting we can discuss.